Hi, this is your girl, Adawies, back at it again. The She and Me Unveiling Self. I was just really sitting here inspired by some things that I was encouraged about when it comes to me as a woman and how I have persevered through faith and how I have triumphed over a lot of things where I feel that I have conquered in my life through my personal struggles as a woman and uh, as a mother. Um, I've realized and come to an understanding that God knows that we as women know that He loves us and that He uniquely designed us according to what the Word has told us that we're fearfully and wonderfully made and even created in the image and the likeness of God. And being a woman, we face many challenges in life, but with God's help and knowing that He have done well with the framework of us as a woman, that we can conquer anything by Him being our Father, and He loves us enough to undergird us with the strength when we are in weakness. I wanted to do this podcast and have this conversation with every woman to just encourage you to be strong and to be very courageous no matter what it is that you're facing in your life, because we can come out strong if we embrace our faith, and we can come out strong if we stay focused and be daring and be women of faith that take chances with things in our life that we want to conquer. And there's some women that uh, may be struggling in areas of weakness in your emotions because of things that we have endured in terms of being wounded in our hearts, being misunderstood, being taken for granted or taken advantage of. And it ushers in an upset in our heart when our hearts can be broken. But even in that, and I'm sure that all of us have experienced some type of heartbreak in our lives where we have uh, been challenged, where our heart has been turned upside down. But I found out that when we're hurt and when we're wounded, that the Bible tells me that He's nigh to the broken in heart, meaning that God is available and He's always available to heal us from whatever it is that we have went through. But I want us as women to start really looking closer and dissect the why we have went through things in our lives. It could have been a bad decision that caused you to be hurt, being married to the wrong man, or being desperate for things that you did not need in your life. So it's all variables for us to consider. But I've always challenged women not to be stuck. Don't be stuck, but always try to find a way of escape from things that you have suffered that caused you to have a wounded heart. And I've also wanted to have a discussion about uh, and have a conversation about um, our prayer lives as women. Um, a lot of times, women would tell me in conversation that I've been praying to God for Him to do this and praying for Him to do that. And it seemed like I've been praying a long time for God to answer certain prayers that I've been praying. But I've discovered and found out that we have to pray a different way. And we got to be very strategic in our prayer life, and really, really seek God to find out that whatever it is that we're praying for and we've been believing Him for so long, is it conducive for your life? Is that God's will for your life? Or is it God's design for your life? Why haven't He answered the prayer? What's the holdup? What's the hindrance? What's blocking it? What is it that you doing wrong, or what is it that you need to do better to get God's attention in a matter that you seem like you continually praying about and praying over. It's just a lot of things that we need to have uh, uh moments to rethink situations, because it should not take God that long to answer certain requests or petitions that we put up before him. So that means that we have to do some self inventory to see if maybe you have a wounded heart, that, or a heart full of unforgiveness, or maybe wrong motives. That's the reason why you want God to unfold something for your life. Or are you an overthinker? Or maybe God's saying, I'm not answering that particular request, daughter, because maybe you could be praying for a particular individual, a man to love you right, or a job that you want to go on, and God sees the road up ahead, that those things is not favorable for your life. It won't only do, it won't add to your life, but it will take away. So I pray that in this podcast you can hear my heart, and something will be said where you can have an understanding heart to begin to embrace the things that are so necessary for us to understand, so our lives can start looking better and brighter. And one thing that I found out, and I speak from experience because that's the best place any person can speak from, and that's an experience. Because if you been through something, then you can testify to another by letting them know that this is the process that I had to go through, and this is the test that I had to endure, or this is the thing that I had to do in order for me to have the outcome that I have today, that caused me to be looking a little bit more victorious than last time. So I say to you as a woman that um, we need to just take second looks at our lives and how we're living our lives, and how is your belief system set up, how is your endurance really uh, speaking to you. And a lot of times we as women, we take the easy way out of things instead of making the sacrifices that we need to make when it comes to fasting, or really seeking God, or the discipline, or to be consistent in things to get a better outcome. And I believe this, and I digest this, is that if you want to see different, you have to do different. And that's something in these season and times now that we need to do. And we need to start doing things differently. One of the things that I want us to give notice to is that we have to become sowers. He said he gives seed to the sower. If you don't reap anything, it's because you're not sowing anything. And when I make that statement, a lot of times people will, your minds will go right away to finances or money or monetary gain. But I'm not talking about that, because sowing and reaping is widespread. It's across the board. You can give your time and attention to someone, just encouraging them, witnessing to them, or having an ear to hear. You sowing that, and you're going to reap that back from others, what you give to others. And what it is that sometimes women can be so selfish, and we can be so competitive, and we don't want others to seem like they're getting ahead of us. So we become so self-centered in things, and we don't want to share with our sisters. And our attitudes need to shift. They need to change, because what you do for others, that will happen for you and more. And I am a living witness that these profound statements that I'm making, and you will just pause and be a partaker of them, your life will become a little bit more different and can look different. We are some of the most unique individuals, very creative thinkers, and we are women of strength. Longevity um, is in our lives, but a lot of times things become so temporal based on our attitude, or how we focus on things, or how we embrace. And I want to say this to women that um, are married. A lot of times, if you don't think of the idea first, then your husband, you should not have to Feel like you need to be in a position where you got to compete with your husband. That's another thing that we need to take note of, and we need to stop. We need to stop it, ladies, because a lot of us have a Jezebelic mentality and we're so controlling because we are insecure and we have low self esteem because of things that we have suffered in our lives. Maybe you have been through an abusive situation in your life that caused you to be that way, or it could be a childhood rejection or a generational curse that needs to be broken. So, all things said in this podcast needs to be considered. And in this conversation, ladies, I need you to become uh, not an analytical thinker, but a wise thinker, and think of those things that are just and lovely and of a good report to kind of renew your mind and to shift your mindset. That way, things could become a little bit more different in your thought life, because our thought life um, paralyzes us. Our wrong thinking, it paralyzes us, and it causes us to have delays where we'll not be able to go forward. Um, a woman uh, has such a boldness, and we are go getters, and we can really, really make things happen. Uh, in our community, in our churches, in our businesses, uh, to be good to benefit others and not just ourselves, based on your attitude and your approach on things. So, um, I've been an advocate for women and a mentor for women for a long time, and I have a woman's heart. Uh, and I want to say to mothers, me being a mother of four children, I've experienced some things about my four children. All of them are uniquely different, and they don't always do things right. And sometimes our children steer away from the things that we have instilled in their lives. And my question to you, mother, what do you do? What would you do? What is it that you need to do better while you in the land of the living to make sure that our children get the adequate care and things that they wrestle with, that maybe we have wrestled with, or maybe we have to come out. A lot of times as mothers, we got to be a little bit more sensitive to the voice of our children and be able to hear the echoes of what they uh, saying and not saying. So I've learned to kind of back it up, basically, and kind of take a broader view and an overview of what it is that I needed to do better as a mother for my children, to make sure that the end result of my mothering would be very, very fruitful for their lives. And they can say what my mom was deficit in when I was a child. Now that I'm older, as they go older, she took the time out to tie up the loose ends to make sure that areas where I felt avoided was filled. So if you still in the land of the living, we as mothers still have time to be able to catch up. And I'm speaking a lot of things in this podcast because that's what I do. Because I want to make sure that I have the opportunity to cover every basic in every area in discussions in my podcast, when you thinking about what I'm saying and meditate on what I'm saying, to take you further. Single women, in your search for your godly mate and your desire uh, to have companionship, we have to really, really know what we want, because I've even heard that conversation this week where women say, I don't even know what I want. And even men have told me that women just don't know what they want. So I can look at that as a twofold. We have to come out of that season and being apprehensive and indecisive and unsure, because we have an inner fear of becoming so vulnerable, and we're not open ourselves to give love a chance or try, because we already have the walls up of in fear of thinking that if I give my heart to them, what if I get hurt? What if you do? We got to embrace trusting God enough to allow God to protect our hearts, even when we make a decision to open up our hearts to become vulnerable to men. And a lot of times, um, women, we don't know what we want. It's not that we all are confused, because everybody is on a different level of being challenged in that area. But sometimes men make us so confused because they send out mixed messages. So I get that and I understand that. But even in that, we got to make sure when we make our mental list about what we want in men, that we include the first and foremost thing is that we want a man of God, a man that will love God more than he will love us. Because if he loves God more than he loves you, then you got a good man. Because that means that that man will aim to be God's man, to please God in everything, and then he will treat you according to how he is supposed to treat you in the eyes of God, and that's to treat you as a queen or a princess as you are. So in this podcast, God knows that we know, but he want to make sure that you really know what God knows in terms of what it is that we need and we're believing and hoping him for. So until next time, I pray that you can embrace some key points in this podcast that will take you the distance in whatever area where you need a push. I love you, my sister and my friend.